we're doing a little Advent group. You can go to thecosmicchrist.com, which I'm amazed that URL was available. That was Phil's text when I sent it to him. He's
Oh
like,
my gosh, yes, that
how
is
in the world?
amazing.
He's like, I haven't had such a simple thing reflect to me the problems facing Christianity, that thecosmicchrist.com was available for purchase. And yeah, so you're all invited to join cosmicchrist.com. Diana, okay, so I texted Diana because Phil and I have been working on, we wanted to do something around Advent that kind of integrated how we understand both like our cosmic story and the story of the coming of Christ, like obviously Advent, and then how that connects to our own experience in making space for the birth of God within us, and in a world where we're facing planetary challenges and all that kind of stuff. And we're discussing it, and Phil's like, well, everything I have to say on the whole spiritual thing, I just be stealing out of Diana's book. And I was like, we can just text her. And so I'm quite excited about it because Diana and Phil have been friends for a long time. And obviously Phil's my dissertation advisor, and you and I hang out on the internet all the time. So this is going to be exciting. But yeah. So I'm pretty pumped. Tell me, what are you thinking? What is going through your head about it? Other than you and Phil are a little older than when y'all met.
Phil and I are a lot older than when we met. We met in college. I think I was 18. He was like 21, something to that effect. And oh my, have we the stories? But yes, we were both very young, very eager, evangelical intellectuals. We were going to take the world by storm. And now our alumni magazine will not speak to either of us. So I think that being on Westmont College's blacklist is one of the great things that Phil, Clayton, and I share, in addition to having this sort of, he's obviously, big time process philosopher and theologian. And I have always been kind of shy of different terminology to describe my theology. I always just call myself an Anglican, which gives you a lot of running room for whatever happens to show up at any time, and you can be it. So you can be Calvinist, you can be evangelical, you can be Anglo-Catholic, you can be process. And so anyway, and Marcus Borg and other people noted over the last 2 decades how more confident I had been getting theologically in my perspectives, talking about process theology and panentheism without using the words, but explaining them and the spirituality of them in my work. So that's one thing that sort of ties me and Phil together, and I'm excited to be able to talk about it. In this last weekend, I was in Canada, and I had a very long conversation with a fellow there who is a scientist, and he was really struggling with his theological views, and he was explaining himself, what he was thinking, what he was questioning. And I said, have you ever read anything in process theology? I think you'd really be benefited by listening to Phil Clayton and reading some of his books, or my friend Tripp. And he said, no, what's process theology? And then that got us into this really interesting conversation about how process theology has never really found a denominational home, because it's still a relatively new, it's only about 125 or so years old as a recognizable thing, process thought. And so there is no identifiable church that teaches it, or a seminary, widespread seminary sort of chairs in process theology. Claremont, that's it. So anyway, I think that it's interesting to be able to talk about a theology that clearly makes sense. I mean, he was very excited when I started telling him about it. And he said, why hasn't anybody ever told me about this before? So we're going to be talking the language of process theology around Advent, which is my favorite church season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
my favorite one.
about it.
Advent, Christmas, Epiphany. Woohoo! Diana's in heaven in the dark seasons.
Yes. And one of the things I'm excited about is a lot of times, throughout Advent, the prayers and things involve like "Come, Lord Jesus" and this kind of thing. From the earliest throughout the church, there's always been this thread that recognized
the incompleteness of it all.
Yeah. That Meister Eckhart has that line, like, what good is if Christ is born in Mary, but not also in you? And all this language of darkness and waiting for the light. And, we think with the Advent wreaths and the candles and this kind of thing.
Wombs.
And I think one of
The womb of Virgin Mary, the Virgin Mary.
yeah, those kinds of images, when Phil and I were talking about it, and why we were like, we want to integrate both a cosmic vision of like how God and the world are interacting moment to moment, how that helps us understand what Jesus said, did, and endured, but also what it invites us into. And it's easy, I think, especially in our context, for us to come up with a spiritual vision and engage science and stuff. But oftentimes we have a hard time seeing how that integrates with the larger whole, and kind of the movement of the class, right, is to start big at the cosmos and get to Jesus, then open up to your own life, and then go, well, what is it like to invite the coming of God, and how do we participate in the darkness of our present world? And Phil spent a lot of time working on the environmental crisis, and obviously y'all hang out here and know that we're invested in the larger public conversation. And so hopefully, as we go through, there'll be that a kind of integrative exploration of how we understand God's presence and how God was present in Christ, how we can participate in it, and as a community, hopefully it helps us engage more intentionally what God's up to in the darkness of our present, which
is dark.
It's there. So, and honestly, anytime I can put regular hangouts with Diana and Phil on my calendar, I feel better about it.
Yeah, it was really spur of the minute. I'm surprised I said yes, but when you dangled Phil in front of me and Advent and hanging out with you, it was just too much to take a pass on. So yeah, we're gonna do it together.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
excited. Am
it'll
I
be great.
going to try to come up with ways of getting stories about undergrad out of you? And Phil, like, yes, yeah, like, well, maybe I'll have fun pictures of what y'all look like in
Oh,
college.
we should do that. We should find our yearbooks.
Yeah,
And
but
see if there's anything. I don't think there's a picture of us together in any of those yearbooks, but I'm gonna go dig them up and see what I can
it
find.
doesn't take a lot of editing. I may find a picture of me at the same age and then just stick it in there. And
That would be great. I'm already thinking of what I might be able to send you that you'll enjoy.